Each day, from the moment I wake up, I'm already thinking about food. What's for breakfast? Do I need groceries? What am I going to do for dinner? For most of us, at least 3 times each day, we're eating. And we need the nutrients in food to survive. Each year in the US, consumers, businesses, and farms spend $218 billion growing, processing, transporting, and disposing of food that is never eaten. Food waste is estimated at between 30 and 40% of the food supply. Meanwhile, 1 in 6 Americans is food insecure, meaning they don't have enough food to live an active, healthy life. Food waste is also a major source of greenhouse gas emissions, contributing to 8% of total global emissions and at least 2.6% of all US emissions. If food loss and waste were its own country, it would be the world's 3rd largest greenhouse gas emitter behind China and the US. Expert climate scientists have ranked reducing food waste as the 3rd most impactful action we can make as humans to mitigate climate change. So what's happening to all the food? Where does it go? Let's start with the farms. In the US, it's estimated that 18% of food waste comes from farms and manufacturers, and more than 33% of edible produce remains unharvested in the fields. There's no question that feeding people is the absolute best way to combat food waste, which is why we need more grassroots food movements, like the Ecology Center, which is a nonprofit farm and educational center in Southern California that grows organic fruits and vegetables. The entire harvest is made available for purchase to the community through their CSA program and farm stand. Any imperfect and super ripe produce gets donated to a local couple who work to feed families in need in underserved communities. Now that's a great solution. So what about the rest of it? Grocery stores account for 10% of US food waste, where up to 50% of produce is thrown out while it's still edible. That's where organizations like Feeding America and Copia come in, which connect grocery stores and businesses with nonprofits that are feeding the hungry to help get good food to those that need it. It's estimated that in the US, restaurants account for about 18% of wasted food. Most of this is due to large portion sizes and over-preparation, which is why we need creative solutions like So Much. So Much Foods is a mission-driven cookie company that upcycles untouched foods from restaurants and turns them into delicious cookies. Each week, they pick up leftover rice, quinoa, and juice pulps that were slated for the landfill. They dehydrate, grind, and mix the contents in to bake their cookies. Now, this is a truly brilliant and scalable solution. Okay, so what about the rest of it? Unfortunately, a huge chunk of food waste in the US, 43% of it, comes from our own homes. The last line of defense in keeping food waste out of the landfill is composting, which is why Changing Tides Foundation launched the Community Compost Movement, a food scrap pickup service on the North Shore of Oahu. The goal is to divert residential food waste from the landfill and produce nutrient-rich soil to grow more food. So what can we do as individuals to keep food waste out of the landfill? We can plan better and not overshop, get creative with our food scraps by making stocks, freeze overripe produce to make smoothies, support local farms, groceries, and businesses that donate their food waste to those in need. And at home, if your food must be thrown out, compost it in your yard or join a compost program to get nutrients back into the soil and keep food waste out of the landfill. Visit changingtidesfoundation.org to learn more.